Hey my dudes, how you doing? I hope you're having a damn good day. Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be discussing Inter Milan and Inzaghi's set of tactics. Of course, it's the 3-1-4-2 formation, or the 3-5-2 formation as Inzaghi puts it, as well as the media. But we're going to be discussing the tactics, the formations. Of course, this is the team that got to the Champions League final and ended up losing thanks to Romelu Lukaku's heroics on the defensive end for Manchester City, of course, headering it in, and blocking his own player's potential goal off the line. So what a fantastic player that is. I'm glad he's gone. But regardless of that, we will be discussing this team and how Inzaghi has perfected the overlapping centre-back movements, the way that they retain possession, the way that they press as a unit. We're going to be discussing all of that in this video, so stay tuned, stay alert, subscribe if you are new to the channel, on the road to 2,000 subscribers. So if you can subscribe, you will be one milestone or one little stepping stone in the way to a massive milestone for yours truly. Of course, while you're there, please smash that thumbs up, that does help. But we're going to have a look at the team really fast. We've got Captain Lautaro Martinez, we've got Thuram, a new signing of course, we've got Dumfries, Barella, Fratesi, who is also a new signing. I think he's signed from Sampdoria. No, not Sampdoria. Is it Sampdoria? I don't know. It's the Sassuolo. I mean, he says it's the green team, Sassuolo. He signed from there. We've got Çalhanoğlu, we've got DeMarco, we've got Bastoni, a young 24-year-old left-footed centre-back. He's 24 actually. That's crazy because, like, I swear to God, in like FIFA 21, he was like 19. Man aged 4 years, 5 years, and like 2 years. We've got Acerbi, and then we've got Stefan de Vrij. And then it hasn't been confirmed yet, but I think it is going to happen eventually. Jan Sommer as well as Turban, who is on the bench. Two goalkeepers that they are potentially going to sign and probably will sign to replace the likes of Andre Onana, who has left and gone to Manchester United. Anyways, they've got Correa on the bench, Mkhitaryan, Gagliardini, that guy. Yep, that. I said it correctly, don't you question me. We've got Gosens on the bench, one of the best damn left wing backs in the game. If you don't know, watch the Hertha Berlin career mode, and that first season will tell you everything you need to know. Of course, I spoke about Turban. They recently signed Cuadrado from Juventus on a free, of course. And then they've got D'Ambrosio. That's what it is. And then, of course, Damian's on the bench. Aslani, Villanova. Besic is another new young player as well, 22, of course. And then they've got a bunch of other players I don't care about. But yes, it is a very nice formation, a load of fun. I'm not even like hyper exaggerating here. It's a load of fun, especially knowing that you have to play out from the back with your centre backs, drive into the midfield as well. A load of fun, a nice different approach as well if you're looking to play a very realistic style of football under Inzaghi, of course. If you have a career mode, fantastic. Let me know down below in the comment section, that would be damn great. But let's talk about the tactics really fast, or let's hop into the formation really quickly. It's a 3-1-4-2, but essentially it's a 3-5-2. FIFA being all temperamental and hectic about the 1DM. But anyway, that's the formation. What I've basically done is I've just dropped the wide midfielders, the left and the right midfielder. I've dropped them down a little bit, and I've also made them hug the touchlines a lot more because they will be the outlet ball on that wide right or wide left hand side. And they are going to be the guys running in, firing crosses into the box, making sure that the service is good for Lautaro Martinez and of course Thuram or Correa or whoever you have as your striker. So just having a look at the tactics really quickly, Inzaghi likes to implement a press on heavy touch. He would like the opposition to make the mistakes, with his team being counterproductive about it, pouncing on their mistake and then capitalizing from there. But what's nice about this, with this formation, of course, you have your wide right and left midfielder, which essentially are wing backs, but they are an extra body in the passing lanes. They are an extra body in being able to close down angles and cut out potential passes. So it does add an extra spanner into the works for the opposition and does create havoc. So more times than not, you will find that your opposition do tend to make mistakes, whether it's career mode, whether you use these tactics in real life against a person online, or if you're sitting right next to them, of course. But it is a very effective way of pressing with this formation. As for the width, it's set to 13. Now, of course, you have three centre-backs and you have three midfielders, of course, in Fratesi, Çalhanoğlu and Barella. And what this does is it keeps it nice and narrow, making sure that the opposition can't pass through the thirds of the field and get the ball up into your own half to potentially score goals. But at the same time, it is a nice wide formation, of course, so your wing backs will also somewhat come inside when defending as well, which does help a fair amount. As for the depth, it's a nice mid block, of course, set to 65. Now, I did mention this in the AC Milan set of tactics. In Serie A, they don't really want to compact and, make sure the opposition is pressed in their own half. They're quite happy to be a bit more pragmatic about it, a bit more relaxed about it, and drop 5 to 10 meters back, making sure that they are going to potentially be more defensive and not leave themselves exposed at the back, which can potentially happen if you press too high up the field. We've seen this happen time and again in the Bundesliga, in the Premier League, and so on, with all those teams that do tend to press quite high, and we do see it in the Bundesliga a fair amount. So what this does is it's a nice a nice mid block, I should say, and it allows your defense to more or less reset from time to time. Of course, your defenders do tend to drift out, and that is obviously because of the overlapping centre backs. So this does tend to, have a nice happy medium with them, and as well as your midfield being able to drop a bit deeper as well. Trying to get the words out of my damn mouth, but I can't. As for the offense, it is set to slow build up and possession, of course. Now, this team and this formation is set up to be a possession-based team, right? But with this formation, normally it is set to be a counter-attacking formation, which is as fast as possible, ball from back to front, you attack. But with this formation, of course, and these set of tactics, it does tend to stagnate a little bit, but you need to be a bit calmer with the ball, wait for the crosses, wait for the potential half spaces to open up, and then you pick your passes from there. But this team is set to be more of a crossing team. You're going to be supplying the likes of Thuram and Lautaro Martinez a lot of crosses into the box. So Dumfries and DeMarco in this case, they are going to be your out there ball from time to time. So you will look to transition the ball with them a lot more on the wider areas of the field, looking to also stretch play as well, and that opens up the half spaces for, of course, your midfield to work with and work in, of course. Now, as for the width, I did mention this briefly. It is set to 80, of course. Your wing backs, your wide midfielders, they will be your width supplying to the team. But of course, Inzaghi does look to try and stretch the midfield as much as possible with Barella and Mkhitaryan, or in this case, his Çalhanoğlu, drifting a little bit wider than normal, being able to receive passes from the centre-backs, as well as allowing Fratesi to link up with the centre-backs as well, because they like to overlap and drive the ball into the midfield. As for players in the box, of course, it is set to 7. You want your players in the box. You want to be as attacking as possible. But more importantly, what this does is it gets the opposite side's fullback. In this case, if it's Dumfries crossing, it'll be DeMarco in the box. And we did see in the Champions League, DeMarco got in the box versus Manchester City quite a bit. I mean, he almost scored, but if it wasn't for Lukaku, we don't know. I don't like playing that game. But goddamn, I do wonder sometimes, what if Lukaku wasn't subbed on in that game? Anyway, point being, so you want your damn near fullbacks getting into the box. You want your two strikers, of course, but mainly you want either Barella or Çalhanoğlu getting into the box as well. But we will get to the instructions fairly soon. As for corners and free kicks, it is set to 4. So, as for your goalkeeper, Jan Sommer, in this case, we are more or less going off of what Onana did. Of course, nobody is exactly like Onana. He is damn near fantastic. But in the terms of Jan Sommer, I would assume that Inzaghi would want to implement a more or less similar approach. Maybe not as aggressive, but more or less. So you do that by more or less putting him on comfort crosses and be a sweeper keeper. Of course, when you are playing a semi-high line, which it is set to 65, you do need a sweeper keeper to run out, be more willing to run off his line as well, and be a bit more willing to pass the ball a fair amount. And especially if you have players like Bastoni and De Vrij with their set of instructions. My bad, I hit that. But with their set of instructions, you want your keeper to be a bit more, happier with the ball at his feet and a bit more calmer with the ball at his feet. So Jan Sommer does tick those boxes, and that is why they are potentially linked with a move for him in the summer, which is right now essentially. As for Bastoni and De Vrij, they have differing roles compared to Acerbi, but both of them are set to overlap with the other instructions set to be normal. So you want them to pick up the ball from a Jan Sommer and drive it into the midfield, overlapping Fratesi from time to time, linking up with him as well as the other midfielders, and just being a bit of a nuisance. Of course, they do have a nice big booming pass on them, high ratings, of course, with their overalls and the passing stats. and being able to switch play, hit long diagonals to the likes of Dumfries and DeMarco. We did see that in the Champions League final as well. So yes, they are the overlapping centre-backs that Inzaghi likes to employ. Of course, they did have, what was his name? I've gone blank. Skriniar. That's the one, Skriniar. They recently had him, and maybe De Vrij can't fulfill that role as effectively, but who knows? It could work out either way. And then, of course, in the centre they have Iturbi, who is a fairly good defender and has just his normal base set of instructions. Slightly moving up the field now to Fratesi. He is set to cut passing lanes, stay back while attacking, normal interceptions, cover the centre, and of course be the deep lying playmaker. So when Bastoni and De Vrij are not able to drive into the midfield, Fratesi will look to drop in to the defence, collect the ball, and then play it further up into the final thirds. Of course, this is the Brozovic role, and I think Fratesi could potentially replicate that and be really good at it as well. Of course, I don't know too much about him, but I do know he is a fantastic player in finding space, working with very tight spaces, and being able to pass the ball. So, you know what? A little bit of scouting, and you can more or less work your magic with it. Anyway, moving forward, we have Barella and Çalhanoğlu, slightly differing roles as well. Barella is set to step back while attacking, get into the box, normal interceptions, drift wide. That's where the difference comes in, and of course cover the wing. Now, you kind of do want him to get in the box, but just behind the likes of Martinez and Thuram. You don't want your two central midfielders in Çalhanoğlu and Barella to be able to overlap your Danny said centre-backs, your two strikers, because you want them to be slightly more effective and more pragmatic in the midfield, making sure that they do have bodies in there to try and win second balls and so on. But where Barella differs from the likes of Çalhanoğlu is he is set to drift wide. So he is more effective in the wide right spaces, being able to do his thing in those areas of play, but also his ability to get into the box late, making late runs, of course, getting off potential shots in that space that is then created by the likes of Thuram and Martinez. And it works out really, really well. As for Çalhanoğlu, of course, he is set to stay back while attacking, balance on crossing runs. So if Barella is not in the box and maybe he's drifted slightly wider, Çalhanoğlu will look to get in the box. Of course, we do have it set to a 7, which means that at least one midfielder will be in and around making late runs into the box. He is set to normal interceptions, stick to position, and then cover the wing. As for DeMarco and Dumfries, they are set to the same set of instructions: come back on defense, stay wide, get in behind, get into the box, of course, and aggressive interceptions are on. It does help for the aggressive interceptions to be on for the press, you might say, the pressure on heavy touch, of course. But of course, these guys, they are wing backs in real life, but you're playing them much higher up in FIFA, and of course they are then classified as wide midfielders. But FIFA, they do have this nice thing of, if there are no fullbacks, the wingers will then more or less act like fullbacks, especially if you have the comeback on defense and stay wide on. So they will act on the defensive end as wide fullbacks, or wingbacks I should say, dropping deep, making sure that they're picking up the wingers, or the runners I should say, in the wide areas. But also they are set to get in behind. They are looking to stretch the opposition, pull players out of position, mainly the fullbacks, and maybe if they are playing a back three of the opposition, of course, the wide centre backs I should say. And as you can see here, Dumfries is set to the same set of instructions as well. Now, talking about Thuram, this was Edin Dzeko and of course Romelu Lukaku's position last season, but they've replaced both of them with one player in Thuram, who I'm very excited to see, because I was a big fan of him in the World Cup. I thought France played incredibly well when he was on the field, so it will be interesting to see him play in this role. But he is set to stay central and have a bit of a mixed attack. Normal interceptions are on, and he is set to stay forward. He's going to be the focal point. But in saying that, normally Dzeko or Lukaku would be the target man, but Thuram, he's not just a tall 6'4" back to the target striker. He's not going to back into the defense all the time. He does have other unique abilities in his link-up play, of course, being able to back up into the opposition defense, but at the same time his pace in behind as well. He could link up quite well with Lautaro Martinez, so that is more or less why I have him set to mixed, because he offers a little bit more going forward as well, compared to the likes of a slow aging Dzeko and just a not so fit Romelu Lukaku, who tends to save his own teammates balls and goals off the line. And of course, he's set to stay central, so he'll be more of that focal point in the box when the crosses are fired in. But Moving on to his counterparts up front, we've got Lautaro Martinez, also not the best striker in the world. He had a horrible World Cup and he hasn't really looked the same since, to be honest. So he is set to drift wide, getting behind. Normal interceptions are on, and then of course basic defensive support. Of course, you want him running the channels, picking up the loose balls, of course, that get fired forward from either Bastoni or De Vrij. But you want him to be a bit of a nuisance as well. So him getting him behind does tend to stretch the defense, open up a bit more space for Thuram. I mean, we did see in the Champions League final, he did almost score. If he had just squared it to Lukaku, who knows? We could be sitting here with no treble for City. And you can see that damn treble, damn it, like chips at my soul. Anyway, so that is the set of instructions to replicate an Inzaghi set of tactics in FIFA 23 for Inter Milan. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, hit the thumbs up, that would help. The road to 2,000 subscribers, it's been on for a little while, but if you could subscribe, that would be quite appreciated, please. And of course, until the next time, guys, I hope you have a damn great day. I'm out.